We wanted to just be mamas. We wanted to just stay home. They came after our children and our freedom, so now we can't leave it alone. We rose up together, an army of mama bears, ready to protect our children, ready to link arms.
Hi, and welcome back. We are We the Parents. I'm Leslie. This is Katie.
Hello.
And we are full blown into the school year, a whole 2 days, but it feels like it's been, I don't know about your household. It feels like it's been a month. My kids are already like, can I stay in bed and just skip? And
Well, we're still in summer mode at my house, so
your school hasn't started yet?
no, we're starting late on
Ugh,
purpose. So oops.
jealous. So jealous.
I haven't even gone school supply shopping yet.
I looked like that mom that people make cartoons of, carrying their kid by the foot, because I was dragging my 6-year-old out of bed with her blanket as she's saying, first grade is hard. So
I love her so much. She's so dramatic.
so dramatic. I have no clue where she gets it from. So,
Right.
Yeah. So diving into the school year, people need to be involved. We talked last week about how they should be involved, what, your responsibilities are based on the rights that we have come with responsibilities, but that extends beyond the paperwork, and it extends beyond just the checklist of the toolkits and how you can be prepared. It goes all the way through the school year. It is your responsibility when you see things like, I had somebody email me yesterday about safe space stickers going up, and about,
You know, we all want safe schools, but we know that those safe space stickers mean a whole lot of different
Right.
things.
and, different things that are basically posting an ideology, right? And so I had somebody email me, and it was funny because I told them I had this issue where a school employee was posting ideologies, because that's what a lot of this is, all over campus and in public spaces. And I said, if this school employee is allowed to wear a lanyard that pushes an ideology, is allowed to carry a cup that pushes an ideology, and is allowed to put stickers in the bathroom that push an ideology, my daughter is allowed to wear a MAGA t-shirt, carry a MAGA cup, and put up MAGA stickers anywhere where there's an ideological sticker, right? And I said, I think that we can all agree that neither ideology belongs on the school campus, and that if you don't want one being pushed, we probably shouldn't push the other.
Well, and that's totally why we pushed for only the American flag and the California flag
Right.
to be in all of our schools, because we're setting an even ground. Those are flags we can unify under.
And those are the only flags that, according to the state constitution, are required to be flown in a classroom.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's unifying, the fact that it's not pushing an ideology, that's where the standard needs to be set. And if we want to keep it off campus, we need to keep it off campus across both levels. So at my daughter's school last year, when I brought that forward, administration acted immediately, and all ideology was removed. So I said this to the person who messaged me last night, and I said, this is how I handled it. Let me know if you need help. Let me know if you need a toolkit. Let me know if you need advice on going to the school board. And he called the school, basically said the exact same thing I said. And they said, we are removing all of it. It's all coming down. So it's that simple. Your responsibility is to stand for what you believe in. Your responsibility is to put our kids first and education first.
We just
And-
lived in the best county in the
Right?
entire world.
And
I'm so
so
happy to hear that.
It is your responsibility as a parent to go to the school and say, because at my kids' school, they didn't even realize this was happening.
Mm.
You are so numb to some of this ideological, I hate that word. You are so numb to these ideologies that you don't even realize that that's what that is, like the safe space stickers, right? People see it and they've numbed down and watered down some of these words so much that you don't even think there's a meaning tied to it or a motive tied to it. And there is. So I wish there wasn't, but there is.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's an encouraging story of getting involved, doing your job, having your responsibilities, and making everything better for everybody. I love that.
yeah. So as we roll into the school year, you need to be paying attention to when your school has its school board meetings. Who's on your school board? And you need to understand how school boards function and what their jurisdictions are, right? So I think that that's a big thing we wanted to hit on today. People don't understand what the jurisdiction is of a school board. Can you explain what the purpose and jurisdiction is so that people understand that a little more clearly?
Yeah, so your typical school board is the closest to the people. We have what's called the doctrine of the lesser magistrate, which means that the school board that is at the closest to the people actually has whatever powers have not been enumerated to the different branches of government throughout the constitutions are then placed in the people's hands. And then from there, the people give that power to the lower magistrate, which is the lesser magistrate, which is really the school board, the family, all of that. So there's an incredible amount of power there. They hire and fire the superintendent, which is the head. They are the neck. They direct the school district in the form of policies and procedures. And we'll talk about one later. Specifically, administrative regulations is also something. So it's like the legislative body. Your superintendent is similar, more like the administrative body, similar like most people understand the president and Congress
Or the governor. And
yeah. So that is the kind of dynamic that we have. Now, switching into the board that my husband, Arthur Gorman, is on, he is the legislative body, but he has an elected superintendent who actually has an office that has duties. And one of those duties, and we've had a lot of public comment last night, people coming to the board to ask for help on something that is 100% administerial and the board has no jurisdiction over. And that's oversight of all the different school district budgets. That's what the Office of Education does at the county level. So anything to do with what's happening like in Oak Run, for example, would fall on the plate of Mike Freeman, our superintendent of schools. So his office is the one that can field all of that information and have to do with, I understand there's lawsuits and things like that. So that helps you kind of understand but the superintendent of the normal school districts run the day-to-day. But there's also that balance in that the board can hire and fire him at any given moment and say, well, we're going in a different direction because you're not going in the direction that we're going. Right. So that kind of gives the power to the people. It's not supposed to be people that are educators entrenched in the system and more of the same. It's supposed to be community members, people who are outside of the stakeholders of the actual school district. So that's kind of also a misnomer. People want to pick teachers,
And when we talk about the lesser magistrate and we talk about the Constitution and we talk about the framework that our founding fathers gave us, it was very clear that it was supposed to be a government by the people, for the people, of the people. And it was very clear that you were not supposed to have people who were bred into politics. That's what we were getting away from, is the monarchy, right? That's what we were getting away from, was the most qualified person, right? And that's where the separation of church and state really was it was trying not to have the government control the church, which controlled the decisions, which the people. It was a break in that so that the people can look to God for answers, for direction, and the people who are one nation under God. We need a moral society for all of this to operate and function. So the people who have a direct communication with God, you no longer have to go through the king or the pope to get God's blessing.
Well, and one of the things that I just loved talking about last night is what are the qualifications of being a candidate? Because right now we're filling out a lot of endorsement forms for different things, and candidates are asking for endorsements. And one of the questions is your qualifications. I really just want to write, the candidate is over 18 and lives in the district because that is all that
those
it
are the
takes.
qualifications. And a registered voter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Those are the qualifications. And those are the qualifications, simply put, because it is supposed to be a government by the people, for the people, of the people. Everyday citizens should be able to run for office. Everyday citizens should be able to walk into any one of these elected positions and make a difference for their community. It should not be a big machine ran by big corporations and special interest groups.
Yeah. So one of the great, to segue to the meeting last night, speaking of, we have a great board there on Shasta County Office of Education. Teresa Roberts, Arthur Gorman, Jackie LaBarbera, and Michael Orlicki. We had a great meeting last night. One of the things that, we're talking about is from the first day that Arthur was on the board, the day he was sworn in, 5145.3 was put on the agenda, which is a policy we talk so much about on this show. But the policy, the administrative regulation associated with it, puts teachers at risk of up to and including firing for not using pronouns, as well as students requiring discipline for them if they don't use the pronouns. And at the time, we were shocked because Rich Gallardo asked the board if they thought that 3-year-olds should be able to pick their gender. And there actually was one of the board members that raised their hand. That led us to post pictures and all kinds of things of these board members and saying they need to be recalled. That policy is still in place. But last night, there was a moment to vote to put it on the agenda for an action item for next month to revise that. And the main reason for that is all the wins that we've had in the Supreme Court.
Right.
Which
and
is
all
exciting.
all the teachers that across
They
the
got
state
paid.
and across the country have been paid, because it's compelled speech and it violates their rights. And so by having a policy like that in place, we are opening ourselves up to litigation if a student is held to the standard that they have to use
I think
pronouns.
it was like March of that year, Arthur had brought that up, and Tom Gutierrez, the lawyer, said, oh, well, that we won't actually have to pay that. The liability insurance will pay that, which prompted Arthur to write a gigantic blog post about how if you really want to get a good payout, apparently you need to sue the school district on this, because,
Right.
that was we saw the writing on the wall 100%. On that one.
And speaking of wins, right? Speaking of all of the traction that we've got going, where we're headed. So on the last podcast, I had kind of cut you off because you were thinking Mirabelli. I'm thinking the case that I'm about to bring up and some details with that. But the win for Mirabelli, go ahead and go where you were going with that when I thought, no, we didn't win that. We did 100% win that. So land your plane with that, and then I'll dive into the case.
Back up to, I guess last night, the lawyer, Tom Gutierrez, who every single board meeting, I mean, you guys got to start coming to these. They're very exciting because every every board meeting, he will say something that is fundamentally false. And Arthur or Jackie will literally just bury him on the fact that he is just 100% off. And he's sitting there Googling things and obviously getting like old information or whatever it is. But I just want everybody to know that in the case of Mary Belly versus Olson, it is basically saying that parents and guardians have a federal constitutional right to the information of the public school student if they express gender incongruence, which I think that was a nice way of putting it, especially because, you know, they're trying to make this distinction between biological sex and gender. And this statement clearly rejects that completely. One of the things that I also brought up, and I don't have the exact case number, but the Supreme Court also has ruled that that is not an immutable characteristic. So when it comes to boys and girls sports, the immutable characteristic is that the girls are girls and they do deserve Title IX not under the Biden administration, but under the Trump administration.
Right.
The original intent of Title IX obviously was to protect girls. So it was, anyway, it's just always interesting. You guys got to come and watch. It's pretty great. They're also available online. If you can go onto the website and click. It'll take you to a YouTube link. And yeah.
So I got an email last week, right after our podcast, or maybe it was right before, but I got an email last week that the oral arguments for our lawsuits against Rob Bonta in the state of California for AB 1955 is moving forward, and we have our oral arguments coming up in October in the Ninth Circuit of California.
And I'm fuzzy on this, but AB 1955 basically says that the school board cannot tell teachers that they have to tell parents.
Right. So,
but Marabelli basically says
that
that they're required to tell parents about gender incongruence.
Right. And California in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has already seen and heard cases on AB 1955 and ruled in favor of parental rights. So I'm thinking we have a very good chance. But basically what had happened was they were having secrecy policies against parents, keeping separate files at school, and with separate access to students' information, and keeping secrets from parents, where kids were transitioning without their parents' knowledge, which we have seen violates everything. And it violates FERPA, it violates the 14th Amendment, all over the board, there's violations, right? So we had school boards across the state led by our fearless leader and future superintendent of public education,
Sonia Shah.
Her school board implemented it. Other school boards implemented a parental notification policy, which requires if your student is coming out at school, this is not an outing policy, because your student is already making the decision to come out and tell their peers and their school staff that they are something that they were not at birth.
Right. And even some schools went so far as to have like gender support plans where they were actually doing like down to the paperwork and setting up a plan that would exclude the parents,
right,
which Marabelli has now ruled is unconstitutional to the parental rights. And so looks like you guys are gonna
we're heading there in October. But the exciting thing was, I mean, we've been on the ground level of this since the beginning, and we were there at the Capitol when we had a local individual who showed up to testify in support of subverting parental rights, in support of shutting parents out of decisions in education for their children.
And flat out lied.
She flat out lied. We have the video of the meeting, we have the video of her testimony, and she came to the school board meeting and then went to the Capitol and testified that kids were called names, that kids were crying, all of this stuff happened, and she said children were called abominations. She was
Yeah.
crying. It was the most theatrical,
Egregious lie.
egregious. And this person is now running for Shasta County Office of Education, where she will, mark my words, she will fight against parents being involved in the fundamental upbringing of their children. So
She's Arthur's opponent, and she's running against Arthur Gorman and Teresa Roberts. She's hoping to get on the board and join Jessica French. And she is also a full-time employee for the California Teachers Union. She's some kind of regional rep. And we really feel like it doesn't matter that we're underdogs in this situation because California Teachers Union has unlimited funds.
Right.
We're planning on, our candidates, we're got hearts of gold, and we're going to work our butts off and do our best. And we're going to get the word out to people. Shasta County does not want an activist at the helm, or ally, I guess is the word. I don't know the words they use.
She
but
says she is a proud political activist. So activist is the correct term. But I would encourage you. We've seen Shasta County be outraged by the behaviors and choices of Jessica French. She made videos talking about the genitalia of board members. She made videos that were inappropriate, calling out other people. She added board members, active board members, to a local, not a hit list. She has taken part in behavior that is reprehensible for an elected official. And so I would encourage you, if you are on the fence at all in this decision, to go back and listen to the radio program that the two of them did together, where they will very clearly tell you what their plan and purpose is for our children of Shasta County.
The other thing is they just do things that are unbecoming of an elected official. Like she mentioned about the genitalia, and Shay has pretended to be going down on a microphone. She dances to a song, Never Trump, Never Trump.
Right.
I mean, she is beyond repulsive and very raunchy, not somebody that you want to sit on a distinguished county board. And, it's just not something that Shasta County wants represented.
I would just say to all of you who were outraged, we saw the outrage. We saw the cry from the public when that TikTok from Jessica came out, and wanting to hold her accountable. There was an appeal to censure her at the board. There was the public was not happy about it. And I would just say a vote for Shay would be a vote for more of the same. So if you were upset about that, if you believe that that is not how your elected officials act or should act, then look at history. Go back and look at the proven behavior of the candidates. You have Arthur Gorman, who has stood for what he believed in and has always stood by his actions and acted as an elected official every time he was there representing in that capacity. And then you have the other behavior. So do your own research.
Jessica is up for a potential censure as an action item on the very next board meeting at Shasta County Office of Education. And the reason for that is that she is coming out against one of our board members, who's Michael Orlicki, who has never once brought his religion into the boardroom. And yet she wants to call him out as a Christian, making it out like it's some kind of bad thing. By the way, I did say earlier, an immutable characteristic, a protected class is not the LGBTQ community, because it is not, or not, I should say the trans community, because, you know, split that up. But religious affiliation is under our First Amendment, and it is protected. So she's coming out against Michael, calling him names, saying that he's wasted taxpayer dollars. Have no idea where those accusations come from. And it's unacceptable, and she's up for censure. I don't agree with censure. I also think that some accountability needs to happen, and the public needs to know what is going on there in that elected official, so that when the election time comes around, they know better than to vote for her.
Right. And the thing is, and that's what a censuring is, right? Like, the process is the punishment. It's the public court of opinion is the punishment, right? Really, if you think about it. I think that censuring people doesn't work. It has no teeth. There's really no, and it's funny. Maybe not funny, haha, but poetic justice that the person who pushed for the censuring of Author has now been up for censuring. Is this 2 or 3 times?
This is the second time.
Based on her own behaviors. Yet the person that Author supposedly offended was not even who pushed for that. It was her pushing for it, and now she's up for it based on her own behavior multiple times. So that's where I see the, like, poetic justice, and the funny part of it is, like, none of us would have pushed for censure because we all see it for what it is. It's nothing.
Author said a really great thing last night. He said, you know, we do have a body that is outside of politics that is there for this, and it's called the grand jury.
Absolutely.
And the grand jury, so the fact that board members have an avenue for, you know, the public shaming or political grandstanding on the censuring, it does nothing. It doesn't remove that person from office. It does nothing. A lot of people think it does. But the grand jury getting involved and actually can put criminal charges and do investigations, and they can go anywhere they want to go. They can go all the way down the rabbit hole they want. So I agree with Author in that, you know, with the Clint Curtis or whatever it is that's going on, we should not be putting that on our plates.
Or on the elected officials there, because then it puts them in an impossible position. Right?
Yeah, it does.
It really does. It takes the hot seat and the court of public opinion and that trial for that person, but it also distributes the process and the punishment onto those having to make that decision, because you're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't.
We have the 14th Amendment for a reason.
It needs to go to the grand jury when there's something that is a violation. And we saw that happen. Paradise has had it happen twice, where they've had a grand jury decision made, and, you know, their local electeds decided, nope, we're going to go ahead and just kind of not make this real transparent. We do have one that's fighting for that and transparency, and I think that that's good. I think that's what we need to do, is we need to utilize that tool and then follow through on the decision and make it transparent to the community. And we also need more people to run for the grand jury. That is something that, when we talk about your responsibility, if you don't want to be an elected official and you don't want to run for school board and you don't want to be the mayor and you don't want to be on city council or the board of supervisors, you can be on the grand jury. You can do your civic duty and your civic responsibility and serve on your grand jury. And every year that they have grand jury fillings, they are begging. They're advertising in shopping malls, and they're advertising on every radio program. This is how you apply. Go apply. We need people on the grand jury. And so that is definitely, I will say, when it comes to censorship, the only time that I saw that process play out and saw it kind of have teeth and be successful was recently in Anderson, when they censured Susie Baugh, because what they did was they censured her and removed her appointments two different committees. And so when you did that and you tied those two together, they said, we're censuring you, which means you are not representing us in the capacity that you're saying you're supposed to represent. So this is our vote to say you were wrong. And the consequence, which this is where censorship doesn't really have an effect, there's no consequence, there's no meat, there's no, and the consequence tied to that vote is we are stripping you of your committees.
I would have liked to have seen an outside investigation, and it's still, even
I
though
agree. I think that situation should have gone to the grand jury.
Yeah, it just, to me, it's a political weapon that, in the eyes of your average normie that's not a political nerd like us, not knowing the nuances of all of the situation, and it's a way to kind of penetrate them to think, oh, well, this person definitely did something wrong. Well, we don't actually know if Susie did something wrong or if Clint Curtis did something wrong, because they didn't get to go. This is just trial by public opinion, and the board has a tremendous amount of power and sway over that. So it's just, we've gone back and forth with this. I think the main reason, too, in all disclosure, is that Author being up for a censure put us completely different mindset of what censure is, because it was 1000% political, because it wasn't even that he was in that moment, although he does refuse to use preferred pronouns in those situations, but he knows that person. He was giving him a compliment and wanting to talk to him. And so in that moment, then they could not wait to find something to pin on him because they were mad about his social media posts. That's really what it was.
So that being said, and speaking of Author, I would encourage everyone to go to Matt Ward's Around Town with Matt Ward and Sonia Shaw's podcast. I will put that in the link or in the description. Author's going to be on that podcast here shortly.
I'm so proud of him.
We're going to let you guys go. And please do go to the description of this video and check out that podcast. Go back and watch other episodes. You will learn more about our great Sonia Shaw and our dear friend Matt Ward, who are both doing great things for the state of California and our children. But that being said, I know we've talked about this so many times. It's on a shirt that you and I both have. It kind of has become a message that people use in moments like this for purposes like this. When running, when walking into a situation, people like to use the phrase "for such a time as this," right? And it's covered by sparkles and rainbows and butterflies, and it's beautiful and it's fun and it's fluffy, and tiaras in our case. But it was put on my heart about a year ago, and I talked about it when I missed the summit, and I sent a video to all of you about what it really means, what it truly means, and what any of us who take up this mantle really do with it. And so I brought my Bible, and I want to read it to everybody, and I want to just really explain what's been put on my heart to be put out there so that you guys understand where we're coming from and where we'd like you to be. And that is the warning by Mordecai to Esther was, "For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. But you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this." And that is the full meaning of that. It is to say, this calling has been given to you. Maybe you've been put in this position. Maybe you as a parent saw tampons in the boys' bathroom like our friend Matt Ward did, and it made you realize, I was put in this position for such a time as this. I was put to draw attention to the injustice that's been done and to act boldly. But the warning is, if you don't, someone else will. You and your father's line will cease to exist. And for me, that obligation of I will act, or my children and my children's children will pay for my laziness and my cowardice, has been the driving force and my why of why I will fight And I just encourage you guys, take to your Bible, pray daily, and just know you may have been brought to this situation for such a time as this.
Thank you for listening. We make sure that you smash that like button and follow us. We're trying to get to, I think we're close to 1,000 followers now. So help us out with that. And we'll see you next week.